The following presentation was made possible by the Alltech Media Group, a Southern California multimedia company providing exponential branding and marketing services to all their clients. The Alltech Media Group understands the value of the 3W strategy, providing their clients proven, trackable results. Let us make it easy for you to grow your business. Visit alltechmedia.com.
As many of you know, the Chamber has long been an advocate for the UCR School of Medicine, and today we're excited to celebrate this huge win for this region. While they're on the way to the stage, please join me in thanking our speakers, Senator Richard Roth of the 31st Senate District, Assemblymember Jose Medina of the 61st Assembly District, and Dean Richard Olds for being here today.
There is no shortage of people who will take credit for this medical school, particularly in politics. But this has been a relay race, and it's been a relay race that's been running for a long time. And I thought that before I let Dean Olds talk, that I'd reflect on the folks that were the leaders of the relay team. France Cordova, remember France, former chancellor. France was the one through her leadership who pushed the UC Regents for approval of this School of Medicine. Remember former acting Chancellor Bob Gray? Well, he actually led the development of the proposal for this medical school. Phyllis Gouzet, former acting Vice-chancellor for Medical Services, was one of the early leaders in this medical school effort at a time when no one thought this thing would happen. Craig Bice, dean of the 2-year biomedical program. You know, he set the stage for this medical school to happen, because without that 2-year biomedical program, the cost for setting up a medical school, the facilities, the infrastructure, the faculty, would have been almost impossible in this time of budgetary constraint. Tom Hyder, we all know the contribution that Tom and his wife have made to this medical school. Tim White. Without Tim's leadership, we wouldn't have the gentleman sitting to my left. We wouldn't be here today with a medical school. And finally, our interim Chancellor, Jane Connolly, carried the baton across the finish line. And then, of course, there's the man to my left. You know, February 2010 was I think that was the day, wasn't it, Dean? That was a milestone time and year for those of us in Riverside and at UCR, because that's when Dean Olds came to our community. And he hit the ground running. $100 million in essence, private and local government money at a time when the state refused to provide any funding for this state medical school. A Herculean effort, to say the least. He secured the contracts, hired the employees, arranged for the community clinics, and set up the residency programs. Clearly, Dean Olds was the right guy at the right time for the right medical school and in the right community. So before we go any further, I think we ought to thank Dean Olds. What do you say? And of course, the community advocates, many of them, if I started to list, I'd leave some out. And of course, as a politician, that's a very bad thing. But I think it's safe to say that the Greater Riverside Chambers of Commerce was at the point of this effort from the very beginning. And this victory is a victory that you should be sharing in, because you, Greater Riverside Chambers of Commerce, you were the ones that made this happen. So we've got a medical school, and that's a great thing. But you know, if we stop here, we've only done half the job. We need to make sure that this medical school is fully funded and continues to be fully funded at an enhanced rate. We need to make sure that this medical school is the best medical school in the country. We need to make sure that our graduate medical education programs are the best graduate medical education programs in the country. We need to make sure that the community clinics that we've promised the residents of the state of California that we're going to set up we are the best, and we need to make sure that we provide medical care to those folks in this state and in particular in Riverside County who desperately need it and deserve it. So I think that's the challenge for each of you. I want to thank you for your efforts because you are the ones, Dean Olds, who made this happen. And I would be remiss if I didn't make this last comment. I've been privileged, it's been a privilege and an honor to have served with your Assemblyman, Jose Medina, this past 7 months because, of course, since this has been a relay, Jose and I happen to have been the ones at the end of the race who have the baton in our hands. But I can tell you that throughout this fight, and it has been a fight the last 7 months, Jose's quiet and strong leadership, his guidance, his perseverance, frankly, is what made this medical school a reality in Sacramento. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Roth. I very much like the analogy that the senator used to say what the process was. It was a relay, and I was thinking the same thing as I sat here this morning. It seemed like a relay race. And now as I sit up here this morning, it is a proud moment for us, for our community. And I think it's a great example of what Riverside and this region can do when it comes together. Whether it's for the Riverside Aquatic Pool that means so much to our community, and now a medical school, I think that we, as a community, with all the people that the senator referenced, and all of you, have shown the state of California what a community can do when it comes together for the right cause. And certainly this was the right cause at the right time. And a little bit of that process, a little bit of that process from where I sat in Sacramento at the end of the relay race, at the end of this very long community effort. And a couple of proud moments that I had. Working with the senator, working hand in hand with the senator, when the day before the Senate passed, I believe it was 39-0, the funding of the UCR School of Medicine. The next day in the Assembly, we passed it at 79-0, the same measure. And then just a few days ago, I got a chance to follow the governor into the governor's office where he sat with the Speaker Pro Tem and the Speaker of the Assembly and signed into law the funding for the UCR School of Medicine. So it is indeed a very proud day for us as a community. I look forward to being at UCR when the dean passes out the 50 white jackets to the entering students, the first entering class of the UCR School of Medicine. And I want to thank you all for all your efforts, for all the work over the years that you have done to make this a reality. Proud moment for Riverside.
Well, it's always tough going last after Richard and Jose. So let me just say a couple things, particularly about you in the audience. Over the last 4 years, it's true that we are at the end of a long relay. But I would say the thing I'm most proud about our community is that when things didn't go well, when we didn't get accredited because we didn't have enough money, basically it would have been easy for this community to just say, 10 years is probably enough for one project, let's give up on the School of Medicine and get something that's actually doable. And each time we had a roadblock, basically our community and the chamber specifically doubled down on their effort and redoubled that effort. If that had not occurred, the events of the last year would not have been possible. And I want to thank everyone in the community and the chamber specifically for sticking with this idea, this concept, this program, which I do think will add immensely to our community. Now, the funds for the school are not just for the medical school. So I want to point out that in a sense for the state's $15 million, you bought a whole pipeline. Because part of the mission of the school is to bring physicians to inland Southern California, we need to recruit students that come from our own communities. And since we come from an area with the lowest college going rate and the lowest standardized scores, we have to build the pipeline on the front end of the med school. And part of the funds will be going to do that. We need a medical school designed around where the future of healthcare is going. So we're not like all the other med schools in the United States. We're building a med school to emphasize more wellness, more prevention, and we're going to recruit the types of physicians that you'd want as your doctor. And finally, because half the decision of where you practice is where you finish your training, we have to also build graduate medical education programs and all the short specialties. That's what that $15 million is buying. In conclusion, of course, I also need to say something about the two gentlemen on my right and left. You know, at the very end, this was a very tough fight, just like it was for all 4 years that I've been here. And it wasn't really enough to pass the Senate unanimously and pass the Assembly unanimously. At the very end, there was a very strong likelihood that this would have died yet again on the last day of the event. And there was a great deal of work behind the scenes for both of these individuals to pull this off. And ultimately, it was not enough to just say, I'm for the UCR School of Medicine. They had to put their own political lives on the line to make this happen, and I'm going to be forever grateful. Now, thinking about what I should do as an appropriate token, I gave a little thought to that. So with Jack's help, I have a little something for my two friends. Could you guys get up?
Sorry.
These are actually the first two white coats, honorary physicians that go to my good friends, Senator Richard Roth and Assemblymember Jose Medina. Thank you so much.
We went together. Yeah.